Welcome back to D&D Beyond, and I am very excited to get into today's topic because we are going to talk about some unique and fun and magical things you might be able to snag. It's a community spotlight on really cool homebrew spells on D&D Beyond. So I brought two of the most magical people that I know to come and talk with me about it, including, of course, Michael Galvis, my editorial colleague, and please welcome back Saige Ryan. How you doing?
Hello, I am so happy to be here. I will spend hours sometimes in the marketplace just reading through homebrew spells I never get to use.
So Operation Get Saige opportunities to use all of these begins now. Michael, can you tell us a little bit about putting this list together?
Yeah, so I have to give big props to Cameron Powell, who is, I think, in chat. So yay for Cameron. So essentially what we did here was we took a look at all of the homebrew spells that were not all of them. We could only go through so many of them. But we dug through them and we tried to get a curated list that kind of is a nice blend between, your more serious, very like what you would find in any rule book kind of spell, but also some of those more goofy, really fun, very role play type spells that that you can expect from like homebrew content, where you're like, yeah, I just want to do something just off the cuff, something that you would never expect. So I think that we have a really nice list here of things that your straight damage spells that any sorcerer would love, and also the type of ritual spells that wizards would enjoy just kind of playing around with and just kind of having some role play moments in the game.
And of course, if you want to go through these yourself, you can check out a link to the article where they're all written up and listed, running through the chat right now or below in the description, with just some A+ extra descriptive writing from Halfway and Cameron Powell, our incredible contributor on these. And the other thing that I wanted to mention before we get into them is homebrew. How does it work? You can make homebrew for a lot of different kinds of things on D&D Beyond, and anyone who's registered on D&D Beyond can make homebrew that can be shared with your table without you needing to do anything or make it public. If you want, you can also publish that homebrew, which will add it to this collection of homebrew that is available on D&D Beyond. And if you have a subscription, you can browse that collection and add pieces that you like for use in your own games and at your own tables. So with that in mind, let's talk about some spells. First off, Saige, would you tell me a little about Aarion's Thunder Charge, created by Space?
Yes, absolutely. So this is a spell that's available to wizards and sorcerers. It's a 2nd level spell. With this, you charge your hands with electrical energy, causing them to violently discharge the next time you strike an enemy. When you cast the spell, it infuses your hands with electricity, causing the next unarmed strike, touch attack, or other method of connection via hand targeting a creature to deal an additional 3d12 of lightning damage. After that, it's discharged, and you can cast the spell again to recharge your hands. I love this Super Punch Wizard spell. This is awesome. I feel like having that in your back pocket when you're playing a wizard and like not using it for a while, like not having it come up and finally just getting like so fed up with somebody that you lightning punch them. That's so cool.
I think it's amazing, but Saige, you also left out that this one has a little bit of a very fun caveat on it.
Yes, if you have not discharged the blast within 1 minute of casting the spell, it does backlash at you, and you take 1d12 of lightning damage yourself, ignoring resistance but not immunity. So if you get really worked up, you better use it. But also such a wizard to like charge up this spell and then accidentally like have it blast. That would still be such a fun like roleplay moment and opportunity.
Absolutely. And honestly, I know you were getting around to it anyway. I just got really excited about setting you up for that because I think it's such a beautiful, like, you've got this, but also watch out. And I feel like if there's a chance you can zap yourself, that is a true sort of archetypical wizardly experience, really.
Absolutely. I would actually love to see more spells incorporate consequences like that I think would be really funny and raise the stakes on certain things. Like you think about some of these like larger fire spells and things that can be done with magic users, and the main potential risk of them is more of like the diameter in which they cast, like hitting your party. or things of the sort where
Mhm.
it's like, oh, you can't put up a firewall in here, guys. Like, it's a small space. If you're gonna throw a fireball, you're gonna get in trouble. But the idea of it literally having like a consequence for yourself that you can take on is very fun for me.
I will say that
Absolutely.
if you are worried about casting fireball and getting in trouble, you can't get in trouble if everybody is dead.
I see your point. I'm there with you. Let's go.
Spoken like a truly dangerous party mate to have. Um, like metagaming. The people who join next have no idea exactly what happened at the end of the party's journey there. I I love this next one. I am very grateful to Salazar for creating the next one in our spotlight tour, which is Alana's library rats. I love this concept. You whisper some keywords to a little wooden figurine of a mouse, and the spell will create 1d4 plus 1 rats made of force energy that run from your hand towards written materials such as books or scrolls. There is a limited range, but essentially they go, they find the matches, they vanish into the item, which lights up and lasts for 10 minutes. And look, is it because I
Gosh.
want this for my home? Is it because I worked in a comic book store for many years and I think this would have been incredibly useful? I love
Oh,
there's an
yeah.
even a thing in the description of this. If you have a clear recollection of its name or the authors or even its contents, which I really want to start getting into, like, all the many times that you're like, it had a red cover and it was kind of shiny. Like, can you train your library rats to be able to hone in on that? I think this is such a fun, creative, useful, flavorful spell. My hat is off to Salazar on this one.
In a game that I play in, it's on hiatus right now. We do Disney princesses, and one of them is Cinderella. And I don't know what I have to do to make this a thing that Cinderella has so that she can send rats to go find things, but it is now mandatory for the next season of Damsel's Dice and Everything Nice that this spell be used.
That's absolutely perfect. It really just also sounds like Cinderella and Belle put their heads together to figure out like what would the perfect spell be. Hmm?
The perfect solution.
Michael, how
I
would you
do
use some
wonder.
library rats?
I was actually thinking about how what a mishap would look like with this spell because the spell specifies that you describe certain keywords about a topic. So I'm thinking Google already. The more
Mm.
specific you are, the more likely it is that you're going to find what you want. So what happens if you have a character that's like, oh, the keyword is the, and then all of these rats just like light up the entire library. And then does that mean you could then use this spell as like lighting in a library type setting? Or like would the rats just get really mad at you if you were not specific enough? I also think about like maybe words that have like two meanings, like maybe you trying to find something on like some type of herb and but then it has some sort of other meaning in like theater and so suddenly you have to sort through playbooks and also medical sort of diaries and such. Just seems
I
really
love the
cute.
idea of it just bringing back the completely wrong books. Like, you just got bad rats or you're bad at search terms or something like that, and you always try to use it and you never actually successfully find the thing you're looking for. Incredible.
Yeah.
I love just tagging errors essentially. Where it's like, did you want the 15 volume series of fiction novels about the wizard who wielded this power? And it's like, no, 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 I wanted a spell. Oh, fine. Um,
And that's when you find the one book that always lights up, and it was just a guy who wrote down every single word in existence because he knew the spell existed and he just wanted to have his name out
Fantasy
there.
Websters.
Yeah.
We're library rats optimization experts. Amazing. So, okay. Speaking of, you can't get in trouble when people are dead, or can you? Awaken undead. Michael, will you tell me a little bit about this one? Which is by
Yeah.
Meowkana.
Yeah, so I really like this spell by Meowkana. So it is for bards, clerics, warlocks, wizards, basically anybody who's going to be messing with undead, right? Uh, what's really cool about this spell is that it gives you an out when you are dealing with undead. Because if you're like me and you encounter an undead, your first thought is, who was this person? Who were they in life? And is it okay for me to destroy their corpse just because, it's under the control of some necromancer. So what this spell does is it's a 5th level spell. It has an hour-long casting time, but it can be cast as a ritual, and it has a touch range. The spell restores the free will and sapience to the undead lacking it. So, after spending the casting time tracing magical pathways within a precious gemstone, you touch any number of large or smaller undead equal to your spellcasting modifier that are within 30 feet of you, and within the next hour. The targets must have an intelligence of 6 or less, or be under the control of another creature. So, you can't, target a vampire. If the target has an intelligence score of 6 or less, it gains the intelligence that it had in life and is no longer under the control by any magical means. Wait, it gains the intelligence it had in life and is no longer controlled by any magical means from a spell or otherwise. So the DM can decide from here, what is this particular creature's intelligence score? Maybe this was some sort of professor who invented a really helpful spell that has rats that sends out rats to find books for you, or maybe it was just your average guy who has intelligence of like 9, and was a farmer. But the key point here is that the spell gives back their free will. It gives them their intelligence. It gives them a choice, for a limited time to kind of just decide for themselves. Like, it gives them a second chance to be like, this is what happened to me. This is what I want you to do. Like, destroy me because, I will kind of lose my free will again. Or, you know what? I want to kick some ass. I want to help you find this necromancer and kick his butt because how dare he do this to me? So it has a lot of role play potential, but it also gives the opportunity for players to circumnavigate some of the challenges that come from facing necromancer, and that is that they have hordes of zombies that you have to get through in order to get to the main guy.
You could totally turn the tides of a battle if the armies are hordes of undead just walking through and being like, "Whoop."
Yeah.
Casting it on them, freeing them real quick, turning it around. Yes, take that army.
So yeah, I love the way it introduces possibilities like turn their own weapons against them. It like Michael, as you alluded to, sort of wider in broader world speaking, undead and zombie stories tend to often fall into the like there's a very important question in your mythology when you're building one of those, which is sort of like, all right, we're doing a zombie story, but is this a world where there's a cure? Because that will determine a lot about how your characters are going to behave and how you're going to feel about the things that unfold. And this spell sort of introduces that as an option if you want to sort of have that be an element. And then I loved Cameron's suggestion that this spell could be a really fun way to introduce the Dhampir or Hollow One or Reborn player character in your campaign. To get you
I
to
do
now
have
we have
to
this sort of beautiful abundance of undead options for player characters.
I do have to correct myself. So they don't lose their free will once they've gotten it. So if you've cast a spell on undead, they have their free will, and that's that, which is really great because then you could be some do-gooder who is off creating all sorts of sentient undead folk who are just like heading back to their farm village and like, guess what? I'm alive, and
Revolution.
everyone's like, what the?
I like
This is
that, Michael. I
great
feel
role
like as a
playing.
DM, your brain was already going to the most tragic place where you were like, yes, but if I did this, I think I would add. We know you
Yeah.
by now. Mm.
My husband is remarried. It's been 2 weeks.
Oh, so so sad, so fascinating, so legally complicated. I'm gonna this next spell I find delightful. We got to talk about Banker's Purse, which is by Jed. Username Jed. You can place up to 50 coins in your coin purse. You may then pull out or pour out the equivalent change in any denomination you choose: copper, silver, electrum, gold, or platinum. It is an exact change spell. I love that this exists. This is so funny and so cool. It's just, it's a cantrip. It would cost you a cantrip slot, but you would never again be stuck needing to break an enormous coin or carry an unreasonable number of small coins. It's everywhere you want to be. Banker's purse.
Always having
I
exact change. I love that. I love the mundane in Dungeons and Dragons.
if this was a cantrip in my game, I would always take it because I always run into issues of with coin issues. Where it's just I have 600 gold coins on me. Ooh, I don't know how I'm carrying that or like what that looks
I
like.
was gonna say, don't advertise that adventure.
Yeah.
No
That's a
encumbrance.
I love this one. It's very simple, but it's very fun and available for Cleric, Wizard, and College of Whispers. So here's how you would add it to your collection if you wanted to. There's a button down at the bottom of the spell page that would make it very simple for you to add and share with your players. Next up, Charged Blade. Sage, you want to tell me about Charged Blade?
Yeah, I think this was really well described in the article of the peanut butter to booming blades jelly, no matter how hard that is to say. And I read it 3 times before we did this, and I was like, I'm not going to get through that. I'm not going to be able to say that. And here we are. But it transfers an electric charge to an opponent you hit with a melee weapon. This is another opportunity, kind of like charging up your fists earlier, to charge up an existing weapon. And if you were somebody who carried around something and liked that hand-to-hand melee combat, or you were typically a spellcaster that likes to sit far away, and now all of a sudden you're stuck at the front of the battle, you're like, okay, this little dagger is not going to do enough for me, or my tiny scimitar is not going to do the thing I could do with my spells. You can charge it up to add a little bit of power to it. What this does is it charges up and becomes positively charged until the start of your next turn. If the target ends its turn within the spell's range, it immediately takes 1d8 of lightning damage as the electrostatic discharge arcs off of your weapon. If it deals this damage, the target is prevented from taking reactions until the start of its next turn. Little zapped in place, which is very, very nice. And then it moves on up as you progress into higher levels. At a 5th level, it does an extra d8, and it'll increase to 2d8 and up by 1d8 up through 11th level.
I love
I think
that.
this
And
is
of
really
course,
fun. It's simple and
go
to the
ahead.
point, I think. I think it's an effective spell in that I just need to do this boost of damage, or, oh my god, everyone else here has done something very impressive. I need to do something. Finish them off with that one piece. Or, I mean, god, reactions can be so powerful. Disabling reactions for the rest of your party for just that round could be an absolute game changer.
And of course, that would prevent the opportunity attack as you get on out of there. I believe, unless I've forgotten how reactions work, which is always
Get
possible.
back to your
Mhm.
distance. I think of prevented from reactions. That should stop an opportunity of attack. I'm not going to disagree
Unless
with
they
you
have a
Yeah.
ever.
funky way to access that. Michael,
Yeah.
thoughts on Charged Blade by Alt F4 will help, which is a very funny but somewhat unkind username.
I love it. My first thought when I was reading this spell was I thought back to this moment uh, in a previous campaign where one of my players used Booming Blade on an enemy, and the enemy had like 1 hit point left. They were done, and
Ugh.
so but they were not very wise or particularly intelligent. I think it was just some random bandit. So it was like, oh, they see themselves glowing with energy, but they don't know what this spell is. All their buddies are dead. So it just created this hilarious moment where they run away and then they blow up. This is just as great because I just imagine 2 players, one uses Boom and Blade, one uses this spell, and it's damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation.
Oh, that's
Absolutely.
beautiful. The dangerous team up. Mhm. And Sage, would you again tell me tell me about Corpse Bomb?
Okay, Corpse Bomb is ridiculous. Thank you very much. I'm very excited about this and also
I
absolutely
wanted this one.
disgusted. The next one's for you, and I know this. So, this is an absolutely gruesome spell, in which at first level, also, it is a first level spell available to bards, warlocks, and wizards, where the corpse of a recently deceased creature rapidly bloats at your command and erupts in a gruesome explosion. Each creature within a 5-foot radius takes 2d8 of necrotic damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. The size of the explosion increases by 5 feet if for every size larger than medium that the creature you blew up was. This is so gross. This is so absolutely messed up and disgusting. And the fact that you get it like so early on too, you can be first level, I blow up corpses. It's effective in that it hits everyone in a 5-foot radius, but also, oh my god. Like, you're gonna be rolling con saves from that just to keep your lunch. That's my opinion. I would make every player on the battlefield would have to roll a con save just for mentally processing a corpse explosion.
I used to play a lot of Left 4 Dead with friends. So just the like, oh no, run, this is going boom is a sort of familiar instinct that I think I would acquire quite quickly in game if I were running with someone wielding this spell. Although, as Cameron
Yep.
points out, not necessarily just there for gratuitous grossness factor, because you could also prevent those corpses from being used for more nefarious purposes. You might,
True.
Yeah, that's why I'm blowing up the corpses.
It's for the
And we
best.
think-
I just picture like a sad wizard like running through the battlefield and be like, I have to do this. Blowing up corpses, like trying to cover their eyes.
Veltman 252 gave us this one. So, Michael, any ideas how you would put this one into play?
Oh man, I want to take the Shadow Touched feat, which lets you take a first level Necromancer spell, be a sorcerer, and just quicken spell this, and then use my action to run away. Just like I don't know. There's some antics you could have. Like, what if you're in a city, you're like doing a tour of a cemetery, and you're just like, and there's like a burial going down, and you're just like, no, don't do that. Am I evil?
Or, I mean,
Yeah.
as a plot hook, imagine being at a funeral for a beloved noble or something, and an NPC uses this from the shadows, just like, and you're gonna have some political chaos, some extremely motivated people who need some adventurers to find out what happened there.
Yeah.
That's so true. This is the inciting incident. Corpse bomb.
Next on our list, I love this one very much. Michael, what is image capture? From Maxwell DMs.
Yes, so Maxwell DMs, thank you for giving me one of my favorite spells out of this list. This is such a fun, cute, very simple spell. It's a first level spell that can also be used as a cast as a ritual, and it works very simply. You hold a piece of parchment, stone, or clay in a direction you choose. A flash of light appears, and an image in the style of an oil painting apparates onto the material. Effectively, we've got photography. But
Yes.
very cool because everything turns out like an oil painting, which who doesn't want some spell that just creates oil paintings of anything that you're looking at? So this image is permanently inscribed on the material, but can be removed with either fire or scraping with a sharp tool. The image is in faded color, and if the image was captured in darkness, only vague details can be made out, as if it is being seen by a creature with dark vision.
This is
I
so
love this.
cool.
This is such a gosh, there's so much potential here. So the bards and wizards can cast this, and I think that is perfect.
Yeah.
Because I just imagine a bard who is like, okay, everyone, get into position, and then they cast this spell in front of the dead dragon that you have just destroyed, or the necromancer whose undead army you've slain. Or it could also be, you're a wizard and you're investigating some murders, and you want to have maybe there's some books in a library that you're not allowed to take out of the library. So you're just sitting there, ritual casting all of the relevant pages that you need. Or you're taking imagery of a crime scene just so that you can later, refer back to it or use it as evidence against the guards that were actually responsible for the murder. There's so much
Ooh,
potential
I
here.
love that. I think that this is a fun thing to use in place of like minor illusion, for instance, because like I know that's something that I use frequently. I'm a real spellcasty lady, and I love to use a minor illusion to be like, this is what it looked like to the best of my memory and create that for them. But to literally have an oil painting of it is just a hair more dramatic in a way I'm very here for.
Ooh, could you layer them? Could you use an image capture to get a real image of something and then minor illusion it to look different? So you're like, I'm giving you the gift of this portrait, and then like drop the illusion once you've got it past the guards or whatever, and it's like a secret message or the proof they need to get out of jail or whatever.
Incredible. I also, once you started doing that, I thought you were going to say like animate it with minor illusion, and then we invented movies.
There we go. We've done it.
But I love the idea of sneaking it past with an illusion or making it look like something different. It's just like a cool threat.
I think also if you are trying to get information on someone. Let's say that there is an evil noble that you are trying to take down within a city, and there's just like no real good way to spy on them. You could create an oil painting and gift it to them, and then when you cast scrying on them, oh gosh,
Through it.
I hope I don't get this wrong, but if there's a with scrying, they take a penalty to their saving throw based off of how familiar you are with them, or how well you know them. If they have a particular possession or garment that you're aware of, or you have like a oh wait, no, I'm getting it wrong. Ignore
I'm
me.
looking it
I got
up
it
because
wrong.
that's the thing I can do on D&D Beyond. Because
Yes.
I'm about to
I
do the
need to
same
refresh for
thing.
myself. So I just popped open scrying from the search bar here. You can see and hear a particular creature you choose that's on the same plane of existence as you. The target
You were
must
totally
make a
right.
wisdom saving throw, which is modified by how well you know the target and the sort of physical connection you have to it. If it knows you're casting, it can fail on purpose. But here's the various things that will alter that. To
Yeah,
let
so I got it
you
wrong because I was thinking of gifting them the image, but you actually have to have something of theirs, and then you use that as like part of your scrying. Ignore
But
me.
instead of targeting a
I
creature, you can
could be
choose a
wrong about
location you've seen before as the target. And when you do, the sensor appears at the location. So you could just leave that as like a little sentinel. Mhm.
I love that.
And then just gate on in there and take a picture.
Mhm.
that.
Gotcha. Mhm. Sage, what is Last Remembrance? Brought to us by Melly DM, the one and only community
Melly!
manager. Mhm.
Choked, I got too excited about Melly. Um,
No, fair.
as everyone's reaction should be. This is a second level spell for clerics, druids, and rangers. You place your hand over the eyes of a corpse that has been dead no longer than 24 hours and immediately become blinded for the duration. While blinded by this spell, you watch the last moment of the corpse's life in reverse from the perspective of the target, beginning from the moment that they died. This is so useful and so clever. Melly, I love you. This is awesome. I love the idea of this for flavor. I love the idea of a party wandering into a dungeon and finding a freshly dead body and then being able to see what has happened there. If you were looking for somebody, if they might have passed by, where they have gone, who would have killed them, who you're pursuing. And if you have somebody in the party that's like some sort of, I mean, obviously you could have a cleric in this scenario that could reanimate people and talk to them, obviously, but being able to see what that person looked like is something you wouldn't have access to by just having someone wake up and tell you something with those like limited questions that you get. This is very cool. The spell has no effect on a corpse lacking eyes, which is very, very specific, or on a creature with no visual senses. This is so clever.
A fantastic story and mystery mechanic, like, evokes a lot of wonderful, fertile things, reference points that you could use to flavor your campaign. Everything from pushing daisies to like ghost stories, but with very specific. I love like the actual backwards film property of it. Just an amazing
Yeah.
way to drop like potential information about dangers and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
I
and
think
how
it's an
does this
incredibly
spell
visual
work?
spell.
Mhm. How does this spell work with someone who's a reborn? Because they are people who have died and then been brought back in some way. So,
I
and what
mean,
if you didn't
that's a
know you
fun
were
idea.
reborn?
Right. If
That's
you
kind of
didn't know or
scary.
you didn't know how you died. We have one of those scenarios. I play in the Black Dice Society, and one of our characters is reborn that doesn't know how they were killed. So the idea of being able to expose that through them, whether they didn't know they were reborn or they just simply don't remember the last moments of their life, meeting somebody and giving this spell to like an NPC even that can like play it back for them in that way is very cool.
Yeah. And you have a timer on it, of course, because I think you have to get to them in 24 hours, but that would make sort of an added, really interesting element to like, we got to solve this now. Mhm.
Yeah.
Kick off that story. It's very, very clever,
Um,
Michael.
this next one, Michael, would you tell me about origami?
Oh, origami. This is a transmutation cantrip from Kale Reader. So you fold and animate a tiny piece of paper or similar material, such as a leaf within range. The casting time is 1 hour, and it requires concentration because if you're like me, origami is very difficult and requires the utmost amount of concentration. You can fold the piece of paper or the leaf or any other object into one of various forms. So you have a boat. If you create an origami boat, then you can direct where the origami goes when you place it in water. You can, and it can also carry 1 pound or less of material. You can turn it into a crane, and it has a slow fly speed, and you can direct the crane to move in whichever direction that you're thinking of, or you can name a particular location within a mile, such as the particular magic shop that your fellow party members have gone to, make their purchases. You can turn it into a dog, and the dog will run around and be super cute. And the dog will move toward any creature that is hostile toward you and start barking, which is just really
So
cute.
cute.
Then you have a flower. The flower is controlled by the time of day. So it is open during the day and closed during the night. So during the sunrise and sunset, the flower slowly opens and closes respectively, which is just has really great roleplay potential when you think about you create this origami for someone and then you say, okay, you will learn the truth at sunrise. And they're just sitting there with an origami flower as it slowly opens for them. The last form is a samurai that has movement speed of 5 feet. You can direct the samurai to move around, and the samurai always points its sword in the direction of the nearest castle or fort. And you can have 5 origami active at once. So just make 5 origami dogs because that's the cutest option in my opinion, and they can
Yes.
all just be barking at things.
I love the idea of
I
little
love this.
origami dogs.
Sage, what would you do first with this one?
I think this is one of those really cool flavor spells that you just keep on and you utilize in so many different ways. But I will say I am a real sucker as a player for having anything that can spawn some sort of like magical animal. Obviously, y'all know I'm a real druid person, so like as much as like a wildfire spirit on a circle of wildfire druid is supposed to be like a battle tactic, I'm somebody who's like, "Oh no, I've always got my fire dog." So the idea of being somebody who just kind of because it's a cantrip constantly has like a little origami dog following them around and building that into your character as part of it is fantastical. You could be somebody who has like an emotional support origami dog that you like offer up to people. I think that that's so lovely of just like, hello, allow my beautiful origami dog to come for you in this time of great stress that Dungeons and Dragons always is.
Oh, I do, and I think it's so beautifully done the way they've sort of been like, here are the specific forms. None of them are sort of world-shattering powers, but they're all things that could really have interesting implications in campaigns, seeking shelter, communicating with messages, sending something down a little road in a little paper down a river in a little paper boat. There it's just and the flower one, Michael, as you spotlighted, has just some beautiful possibilities where you're like, how long have we been out of the city? Oh no, it's closing up. It's beautiful. It's a really cool creative work from Gale Reader, which brings us, Michael, to our final spell. Would you tell me about Rin's prismatic orb from source?
This is a neat spell. So this is a sort of, in terms of flavor, kind of a combination of like prismatic spray, prismatic wall, and chromatic orb. So it's one of those spells where you're going to cast it and you're going to roll from a list of effects, which I think are some of the funnest spells out there. It's a 3rd level spell that takes an action. It can be cast by sorcerers and wizards. So when you cast it, you hurl a 4-inch diameter multicolored sphere of scintillating energy at a creature that you can see within range. You make a ranged spell attack, and if the attack hits, you roll a d8 to determine which layer of energy hits the creature. So the results from 1 to 5 are going to deal 5d10 of a particular type of damage, such as fire damage, acid damage. The results from 6 to 8 get a little more interesting. So on a 6, you have the opportunity to petrify a target. They have to succeed on, I believe they have to successfully succeed on 3 Constitution saving throws. If they fail 3 times, they are petrified instead. Violet, which is result number 7, the target is blinded, and then it must make a wisdom saving throw at the start of your next turn. On a successful save, the blindness ends. On a failure, the creature is blinded for an hour or until the condition has been dispelled. And on an 8, the target is struck by 2 layers at the same time, so you will roll twice more, re-rolling any 8s in the result. And then you can also cast this at higher levels to deal additional damage.
This is so powerful. I mean, even then, if you're looking at like a third level spell that does 5d10 of damage potentially, even though you don't have as much control over it, and that's the thing that you sacrifice is like, I don't even know exactly how this is going to work. So I sacrifice this for like the possibility of more damage. All of these options are very powerful.
I love this very much. I love the way it's expressed. I love the way it combines those spells. It's available for sorcerer and wizard, which I think makes sense as it's like a hardcore do some damage spell. It does require a diamond. So I love that, like, it's, this is not a first level spell and it is going to require a diamond and some investment, but once you have that stuff, just like with chromatic orbs, like you are going to be able to make some very fun, intriguing effects. And I do love this is a community spotlight. So these spells are drawn all from user submitted things on D&D Beyond, but there are a few in here from sort of uh, particularly distinguished members of our community and crew, which I really love seeing. Amazing choices, Cameron, as this one I think would be very fun to put into action at the table. Michael, is there a favorite or an element or an idea from this list that we didn't get to that you want to make sure we think through with this basket of goodies that is our 10 homebrew spotlight spells?
Ooh, there, I really love all the spells on this list for different reasons. For example, the first spell that we covered, Aarion's Thunder Charge. I love it from a visual perspective of a character like charging up a very powerful strike. I like the sort of visual of being a sorcerer and you kind of subtle cast this to backhand someone with a very powerful backhand. But I also love the flavor of Allana's library rats. There's so much variety within this list that I think that no matter what your build is, you're probably going to find something here that really works for you. The spell, if I had to choose my absolute favorite, it would be image capture because I just think that there's so much potential, so much role play potential with that particular spell. And I just think of how many oil paintings I would create and what kind of storage issues that would cause for me as a bard who is maybe self-obsessed and just has to take a selfie, every hour or something.
Michael, chat was very
Incredible.
much with you there. Rooftop apparently described that spell as when you give your bard a selfie stick.
Yes, it's the best way to describe it.
Saige, do you have a favorite from among these or one that you can't wait to put into action at your table?
Yes, Awaken Undead, I think, is a personal favorite for me. I love the idea of building a character around a specific kind of like spell and ability. And the idea of building a character that kind of has this mission in freeing the undead. Maybe they're a reborn character themselves that has the benefit of having that kind of sentience to themselves and feel like there is that they're kind of like a hero for the undead that gets to be on this mission to go and free people from the shackles of mind control and kind of their minds taken from them in the undead world, creating more reborn possibly, or that's their goal. I think that that's really, really fun. And then, of course, I am insisting Cinderella gets those rats.
Oh, I'm so excited about the possibilities. I think I can't wait to try out Rin's Prismatic Orb for some hardcore, fun, unpredictable damage dealing. But yes, my heart is with the library rats. That is a brilliant spell idea, and I'm very excited about them. And thank you to everybody who made these beautiful spells and has shared them with the community on D&D Beyond, so that folks with a subscription, if you want to, can add these to your collection and use them in your games. Share them with your tables and bring them to life in your D&D table. Saige, where can people find you?
Hi, I am a streamer and content creator. You can find me everywhere on the internet at Not Sage. I am also one of the founders of the Pixel Circus channel. We do a bunch of really great tabletop and D&D content, including tonight, the third episode of our new series, The Boros Saga Bane's Break, will be live at 6 p.m. Pacific. We have an Indiegogo running right now for it to finish out the season and continue making more of the show. There's so many cool perks on the Indiegogo. I'm even getting a Bane's Break tattoo in the next few weeks because somebody redeemed that as a tier. We're very committed to making this show, and if that doesn't speak to it, I don't know what does. So I would super appreciate it if you guys check that out.
So a capture image right on Saige permanently cast by the people supporting that amazing show. I hope folks will check it out. Michael, where can people find you?
You can find me here at D&D Beyond. We are going to be doing more community spotlights in the coming months. So, if you're particularly proud of a certain homebrew creation that you have done, feel free to hit me up. I am on Twitter at Michael Galvis. And hey, I'm in the comments as well of the articles, even though even if you don't see me commenting, I am reading them. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
And that article, again, is at the link that you can see running through chat or down below in the description. I hope you will check these out and consider adding some of this fun and flavorful magic to your table.